16 or 19?
Everybody wants
Doesn't
this.
that make sense? Does that make sense? There's no correction.
16 to 19?
But we have to do headshots before April 1st. I have to submit in the headshot.
For this?
I have to work it out. So I'm going to schedule that.
Yep, that's where they are.
Hey, how you doing? Good, Kelly.
Well, Hawaii starts, yeah. Yes, I'll give it that.
Maybe that's the problem.
But yeah, Chloe got grand or champion Angus and showman.
Sweet, right, who's got sweatshirts?
And then fifth overall. Yeah.
That's always fun.
Oh, I know, and the hard work.
We got to watch a match, the second match.
Sometimes getting them to do that hard work is
Got 10 hours.
right, or whatever you have to do to get them there. But she loves her cows.
And that,
For years. And
that's a whole nother level. So you have to be ashamed of
yeah, the guy that was
it. You were there. Nobody else
doing
was.
the judging. Whoever's feeding this spear out is doing it. Heck of a job. Where's Mark?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the helper, Randy helps him. Yeah.
That's what he's next in line. All right, it's 7 o'clock. All members are present except for Brad. Public participation. Kelly? You're up.
I'm up. All right. Hey guys, my filibuster is about to end. As my youngest granddaughter will turn 5 late this year, I feel confident that if she attends Kingfisher Public School System, that it is now on a corrective course with the leadership that is in place. If she attends Kingfisher Public School System, my hope is that her class will see the restart of the renovation project that's now in a paused state. Even better is if her class could see the completion before they move to the next building. With that said, I'll let your actions speak louder than any of my words could. In closing, we seem to like games, and we all want our teams to do well and be winners, whether it's on the gridiron, the hard court, on the links, on the mats, or even the diamond. One of my favorite is chess. That's a game that allows anyone to match wits with anyone else. It's a game that teaches one how to take care of one's own kingdom. I myself like to cover all my players and not sacrifice any. Get everyone as far as they can go. I best like it when I can have a chance to get the opponent's king on the run and put it in check with a pawn down deep into the opponent's kingdom just before I transform that pawn into royalty. You know, guys, I came to you, the school board, as a pawn with concern, and I addressed you all as if you were kings, and I still do. But just know this, I don't have any grievance or anything, but just know this, that you can move in any direction that you want. one move at a time. And that any pawn can come and put you in check at any time. I would just caution you to not get blindsided by anyone in your courtyard ever again. Wow, I got time. That's
Thank
all
you.
I got.
Thank you. See, honors and recognition.
So I want to go and just say on behalf of all of Kingfisher Public School staff, we just want to extend a sincere thank you to the board for the yummy Eileen's cookies and Gordo's lunch. It was such a nice treat. We have many thanks from a lot of different staff members and buildings. So thank you all so much for that. It was such a nice gesture, and it was very much appreciated by all staff.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Dr. Johnson, would you recognize our wrestlers from state?
Well, I want you to know that I was a wrestling official once for one match. And someday I'll tell you the story about a little yellow-haired ninth grader named Eddie. So he was involved in that. We are very fortunate to have with us, and pardon me guys, I didn't know I was going to do this, two outstanding young representatives of the wrestling program who went to the state wrestling tournament, Jackson Shepard and Jose Santoyo. Both performed admirably. Did not succeed, but as I've told them before, they were there, and hardly anybody else was. So they both deserve our highest accolades for their representation of our school district.
Thank you, Doctor.
Do they want to say anything? Either one of you want to say anything? Okay.
Mr. Kai? Melody?
You talking even while we talk? I just wanted to, I know he had mentioned in the last board meeting, I think, I don't remember what it was. Yeah, the special one that the robotics team had made it onto state. Again, we didn't succeed either, but they did see the importance of getting there and being there, especially in our second year in our program. And they've already started thinking of the future and next year and things that they can do better. And we do have a goal to hopefully get to Worlds within the next couple of years. That's our goal. That would be nice. So Raiden is a junior and Savannah is a sophomore, and they're here with us tonight. Raiden is our main coder, and Savannah is one of our drivers, and she does a lot on the CAD program and the portfolio, and basically the team captain that keeps everybody in line, which is one of the reasons why I nominated her for one of the special First Tech Challenge awards. It's called the Dean's List Award, and it is a fully nominated sophomore, junior level, nominated by coaches. So I had to do the whole nomination process, and she was selected as a semifinalist, and she had to go through a Zoom type interview, and she was actually chosen as one of the 3 finalists for the state of Oklahoma. And she gets to go with her dad to Houston, down to nationals, over Easter weekend, and she gets to go to the finalist banquet, and they choose 10. So I think she has a good shot. She knows how to interview, and she knows what she's talking about, and she's a great representative of us and what we're doing. So super proud of her for getting that accomplished. So yay for you. And also, just wanted to say, on March 31st, we're having our 2nd annual STEM night for Heritage and the Q. It'll be very similar to what I did last year, just changing it up just a teeny tiny bit. But I'd love for you guys to stop by, 5:30 to 7:30, anytime that evening, and see all the fun stuff that we've got going on. And last, I couldn't do what we do without Kurt. Kurt is my right hand. He may not want to talk and he may not do the paper. I'm the paperwork, he's the robot. But I couldn't do it without him, so always thanks to him.
I drive the van.
Yeah, he drives it in. Oh, and we have a group of 7 8th graders coming up, so we're actually starting a second team. So we're gonna have 2 teams next year. So just hoping we can keep building the program. And they're already working on things, and we're going to an air show in Altus. Both teams are gonna get to scrimmage, and but we're doing that in April as well. So we have a busy April.
Miss Karen, how many are in the program?
There are 7.
9. 9 of us, I think, because, oh wait, 9 including mentors. And then
Okay.
the upcoming freshmen, so.
7 kids right now, and then 7 coming up. So there'll be 14 of them total on 2 different teams.
That's just the first.
Yeah, that's just that league. That doesn't count the other 2 teams that we have in the younger 5th grade through 8th grade as well. So next year I'll be running 4 teams. So, yeah.
It's really nice to be able to recognize kids that are competing at the highest level academically and athletically both, and we really do appreciate that, the effort that you have to go through, because we know that's a lot of work for the sponsors, we know it's a lot of work for the students, and you guys really represent us well. Thank you. And if y'all want to, y'all don't have to stay through the whole thing. If you got some other place you want to go, that's fine. So please feel free to leave if you want to. You're not being rude at all.
Thank for coming.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Walker, have you,
No. And we want to recognize Carly, since this will be her last meeting with us for her 10 years of service on the board.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you.
Get out of that
Thank you.
Speech.
It has been an honor to serve our district and the kids within our district. And I know it's a great place, was it you always say, it's a great place to be, so definitely
yep,
is.
it is, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
D, discussion, possible action on minutes from February 3rd, 2025 regular board meeting and the February 10th, 2025 special board meeting.
We have to do them separately. Probably.
Yeah, we'll see. Well,
Are these members at both? Yeah, I think we better do them separate.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 meeting.
I'll second.
all those in favor? Motion passes. February 10th, 2025 special board meeting.
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. E, discussion possible action on the following. General fund encumbrances, accounts payable 1640 through 1664. Payroll 70456 through 70469. 2, co-op fund encumbrances, accounts payable 1219. 3, change order listings and general fund. Building and child nutrition funds. 4, treasurer's report. 5, activity fund custodian report.
All right, on one thing about the treasurer's report, normally we have it updated to today. However, we kind of ran into an issue with ADPC not being up all day. Fortunately, Pam had already gone in and fixed everything up. If you look over on the encumbrances, those are all pretty standard encumbrances. I do want to point out a couple that we had to repair to the water leak on the northeast corner. It was a really nice water feature that we had there for a couple of minutes, but we got it fixed. Our SRO app license renewal, that's pretty regular. We had to fix the track restrooms. We got a little bit of freeze damage in that. We also had We paid for the state wrestling lodging expense, which we traditionally do whenever we have someone go to state. The HDMI splitters for the APV basketball table and IT department were to help us run the wrestling tournament. Normally when we say basketball table, that's what we're thinking, but it really was for the wrestling table. And then we had a roll-off expense because we're trying to clean up that mess in the northwest corner of the bus lot and trying to get that under control. We have change orders on payroll encumbrances. These are primarily for substitute teachers and for Bobby, who came in a little, for Thomas Britt and Bobby Wilkinson, which we'll approve later. Then over on the actual change orders, we had a legal expense for Center for Ed Law for $23, the Britton and Kuykendall audit services for $2,500. There's real Cowboy Express, $708. That was for deaf, which you kind of got to have if you're going to run it. We did have an electrical expense from Dale's Electric to wire in for the fuel tanks, but we're seeing an improvement in our fuel cost really quickly, and we didn't have to buy all the diesel treat because Cowboys goes ahead and puts the diesel treat in there, so we don't have to do that. That saves us a little bit of effort to make sure that we're in the right place. And then you get over in, you keep looking over on the hot water heater at the KHS. That was to put it in. The actual hot water heater was rather expensive. It was about $15,000. And we took care of that in January. Then we have the change orders on personnel. And then the rest of that is pretty normal stuff. I did want to point out one thing that we're running a lot for the building fund. We're running a lot of the natural gas and the transportation and the fuel costs for the buses and bus repairs. We're running those through the building fund right now to keep them out of the general fund so we can keep it healthier. We'll probably be doing some changes on that in the near future because we're getting the general fund back up where it's supposed to be. Whenever you get over to total assets right now, we're sitting at $5,856,662.44 as of today. We didn't get our checks yet from the county, and we wouldn't have been able to add them in anyway because ADPC was down. But if you'll look over on summary page 2 on the treasurer's report, it shows the total purchase, but that is from the beginning of the fiscal year. So that's why it shows 22 million. We haven't done 22 million over this year yet. Whenever we look at the rest of this, we can go over on your spreadsheet if you want to go, but I want to go to the activity funds, if that's okay. Our activity funds really have been benefited quite a bit by the tournaments we've had, and I've got to give credit to the coaches and Mr. Blundell and the parents that have really helped us out to run those tournaments. We've had 5 days of tournaments over the past 2 weeks, and the concessions have ran pretty well. The custodians have done a really good job of keeping the building clean. They've really worked hard at that, and we really appreciate that. Pointing out that boys basketball and girls basketball have both got a whole lot more healthy this year. And a lot of that is because of the way that we've done the hospitality rooms and the way that we've been handling the money on that. But I also want to point out something else. We did an experiment this week and last week on gates. And our gates jumped incredibly high when we actually did that thing of taking cash again. And we're going to probably phase out the other thing, even though it does make Ms. Warner have to work a little bit counting money, but we really do think that that's going to be better for our activity funds in the future because we're just losing too much money on those cards. It just doesn't work like it ought to. And people normally have cash and they expect to pay cash, especially our older patrons that we want to make sure are staying happy and healthy. But I want to point out a couple of things here though. At the beginning of the year, basketball's beginning balance was about $300. We're at $10,413.41 on the balance. The girls are at $27,669.65. And then as you go down to the AD fund, we're going to have to get the AD fund where it's in a better position. We've only got $8,678. That should be somewhere around $25,000. We had to pay a lot of basketball officials out of that early because of the basketball activity funds, and it was better to let them grow a little bit so that they can do things for their kids. But that is concerning. The interest holding account is really doing well. That's where we took the lunches for the teachers out. We're looking at $52,855. That is really, we're really holding tight on that. And then you look at the concessions, $8,454.10. I don't know if that's because Stan only charged the kid 10 cents for an ice cream cone, but most that's probably ice cream cone money. He's really been hitting it pretty hard. Overall, our activity funds are a whole lot healthier coming out of the seasons than they were going into the seasons. And we've got a net total of $770,486.40 ending balances on our activity funds. As far as the discussion on the budget for this month, I do agree that I think going to the bigger paper is much more comfortable. On the revenue trends, I want to point out a couple of things. I've got that up on the front, but right now our new revenue is $1,798,982.77 less than FY 2024. Gross production is at $767,000 less than last year. However, I want to point out that at this point last month, we were at $1,100,000 less, and that's because our board meetings are on the first Monday of the month, and this has been an unusual series where we haven't had any middle of the month, first of the month, so we haven't had the opportunity to give you fresh data. When we had the last special board meeting, that's why I gave you those sheets. The foundation of state aid is $133,211.77 up from last year. We're working right now, the principals and I are working on looking at the ADM so we can convert that into WADM for next year. We've started our pre-K enrollments so we know kind of where we are. This is a $350,000 improvement over last year. That's big, but that's also because we lost ad valorem. So it's kind of a mixed blessing. I mean, it's $350,000 up, so that means our net loss to revenue is $1.798 million, which kind of coincides with that. So that means that really we would probably be hitting the same amount of revenue right now that we were last year if the ad valorem were correct. But one other point that I'd like to make is we're running 30 days behind, so we may catch up somewhat more, maybe down. If the projections are right, what did I say this morning? Probably be within 1.2 million. Mm-hmm. Isn't that what I said? Mm-hmm. So, because I didn't bring my calculations. The primary driver of this revenue sheet right now is still the loss of millage in the ad valorem. It's also the lateness of the tax bills, but it's also the lower gross production and the loss of ESSER funding. We've hit the ESSER cliff this year, but the nice thing about one thing that we have done is we have been able to adjust to that ESSER cliff a whole lot better than other people have. But that's because we did some pretty drastic things. It's not as bad as it looks. The revenue is actually coming up. It really is. Whenever you go to the next page, If you look at the pie graphs, once again, if you look at the red market, the red slice of pie in there, the red slice of pie is right here is obviously much smaller in FY 2025 than it is in FY 2024. That's the difference in 8 million and 3 million, or 3.5 million and 8.8 million if you want to be more exact. But I do want to bring one thing to your attention. If you'll notice right here, where the green is, that is the state allocated revenues. That is basically going to be where our gross production is. We're an unusual district in how large that is. But notice where it is on the clock. If you were to look at this as a clock from 12 o'clock around, we're still holding percentage-wise where we were last year, and size-wise on what our amount of collections are. The state allocated would be what our state aid is. Notice how much bigger it is down here than it is up here, and that's because $300,000 makes that big a difference. So we're moving along, and our gap of 1.7 million in our ad valorem probably will catch up a little bit. We'll probably get down to about 1.2 million gap, but it's still going to be a 1.2 million gap. Our next metric is going to be to see what our gross production ad valorem is. If we wind up catching some tax protests in ad valorem, we could see this be higher, but that's one-time money that we can't budget in. Whenever we go look at the expenditures right now, whenever we look at the expenditures, I want you to look in particular at the services. Look how that has shrunk this year over last year. That's the green piece. So that's shrunk a whole lot, but look at our salaries and our burdens, how they've changed and how they've moved around. We're looking at 54% of our expenditures being salaries, 19% being burdens. While that wasn't as big a percentage last year at this time, note that that's 39%, that's 54% total. So you're looking at our budget coming more in line with what we'd expect in a district our size. We expect burdens and salaries to be somewhere around 74%. That's just good financial management. At the start of the year, we were setting probably closer to 84 to 85%. That was one of the first things that we talked about whenever we were originally doing this. I want to point out on the dues and fees, on the services, we've had a $3.5 million decrease in services. That's even with a $76,000 increase in OSIG for property insurance. We spent $338,000 less in supplies, which I attribute that to those 4 people over there on those 2 tables right there, because they've really kept things. They haven't asked for a lot of things that they know we can't afford right now. And the teachers have done an excellent job in doing more with less. And that's everybody pulling on the same rope. And that's when you get success. Our net decrease in expenditures of 2025 to 2024 is $3.9 million. What we can expect is over the next 3 months, we're going to see this contraction become even more, because we're not going to have the construction expense that we had, because that project was paused. We're not going to have some of the legal fees. We'll have one big month where it really jumps dramatically, where we'll go from 3.9 to about 6 million difference. And then as we go through the year, we'll get down to 8 million difference. Now, that's history. That's just comparison of present to past. But to make sure that we have everything where we're looking at real dollars right now. Our month-to-month general fund expenditures for FY 2025, Kelly caught me working up in the office this weekend, and this is what I was doing on Saturday and Friday, and some on Sunday. This is an expenditure of our this is a study of our expenditures since October to the current time. And I want to really bring your attention up to October. In October, we spent $1,364,940.45. This month, we spent $1,114,783.36. We had a $250,000 drop in our expenses. We believe, and this is one data point, and I don't normally bring you one data point, because one data point is a dangerous data point, because you don't have anything to back it up. But what we believe right now is we are looking at a change in our budget where we're decreasing our expenditures rapidly. We believe that there is a possibility that this could get up to $280,000, but right now I'm just tickled that we've got a difference of $250,000 between this and October. The reason you see such a difference is October was the last month that we didn't have to put heat and air on a building, or fix electrical issues, or fix plumbing issues, or something along those lines. $15,000 a month in those services and supplies does kind of hurt. But if you want to look at the difference in the expenditures between this year and last year, all you got to do is go in and look at the comparison on the right-hand column. It's okay. I mean, it could be a little bit more refined, but it helps. The next one goes through our month-to-month general fund expenditures with a pretty detailed, not a detail, but a detailed discussion. So we went to like I said, from October to February. And like I said, because that was the first month where the encumbrance change orders were completed. February was when we completed most of the encumbrance changeovers on salary. Our net average salary decrease from October to February was $149,249.11. $114,000 of that was actual salary. $34,000 of it was going to be burdens. We're seeing this be a little bit more because whenever we do our salaries and our burdens, you got to remember we have subpay in it. So we're going to have 3 months of salaries and benefits that aren't going to have substitutes in there. It'll be just our staff, and we probably will more closely reflect the $250,000. Our big limiting factor in this has been time, because we took extra time to make sure we got this right, because we wanted to make sure we did this one time and didn't have to come back and do it again this spring. When I first did the calculations, I made a mistake, and I tried to compare just February to January, and I realized my mistake real quick because it didn't work out like I wanted it to. And I decided I needed more data, so we pulled more data in from the October to the February. I want to remind you, January is going to be a little bit deceiving because that's where the $2,500 stipend is. There's benefits on that of 24%. So we're going to have a little bit more money in January, and if you look, you can see it. There was $143,000 difference between January and February, but that's because we had that inflated amount of money. On 21 people, that kind of does that. If you look at October's decrease, that is the only month with this data set that did not have extra expenditures. And one other thing is October is the last month that we had full staffing that we were paying, because we had a lot of people that we lost 3 salaries in the first semester. So really what we've contracted is not actually 22 salaries, it's actually more like 25. And you're probably saying, where's the 22? Well, we had one custodian that was in there that we didn't keep. So we've actually contracted 25 total salaries over. Whenever you look over at the final thoughts on the last page, this budget continues I want you to look particularly at at the top, right here, on the bottom page of the top, if you look at that, you can see that what we're looking at right now is $10,232,711 that we've spent year to date. Okay, that's total year to date. So whenever you go over here and take a look at, and the bottom one is the expenditure, the expended to date as of 2/26/25. Those are just calculated off last week's numbers. We pulled them on the 26th, that's where we started. But I want you to look at over on 22 and 21. And on FY 2022, we spent $15,668,000 for the year. In 2021, we spent $13,418,000. What we're looking at right now, whenever we're getting mixed signals in the budget software. Whenever we go and look at the superintendent's report down on number 5, it shows that we have $14,203,000 we will probably expend. Our projection comes in whenever we go in and do the algorithm of $13,370,000. I think we're going to wind up somewhere right at a little under the 14 million. We might get to 13.9, which means that we are much more, I didn't think this would be possible, but it's much more likely that we're going to wind up with the 2021, somewhere between 2021 and 2022, which is what we were really aiming at whenever we did the change orders, because that gets us, right now we're below what the appropriation level is without putting the federal programs in. The federal programs are 1.5 million that we can increase the appropriation with. We don't necessarily have to do that. We probably will. We'll bring you a C7 that we'll take down to the county. But what we're looking at right now is we're looking at that we've got the savings that we had to have, and that's what we promised the community whenever we started this little journey together. And I got to give you guys as a board credit. You've let us do what we had to do, and I do appreciate that. But the big thing is, this pushes us upwards where if we continue to save and we continue to hold on to the money and we can keep those extra expenditures down, we could see a reasonably good return on our carryover and not be down at the $500,000 to $1.5 million carryover. We could be over that, but we're going to probably look at when we claim so that we've got everything lined up. If we don't claim all the federal programs by June 10th, we won't get all that money reimbursed, so carryover will be lower. But that's probably what we're going to be looking at, because we've got expenses coming in that we probably won't have till June 10th. Have everything. I know that's a lot of talking.
So we're in 25 now. Will this put us back on the formula by 26, the state formula?
Well, it's going to depend on what happens on gross production.
Okay.
We're an unusual district.
We are.
Because our biggest form of revenue by far is gross production. It's 22% bigger than ad valorem. And what we've got is we went from, I'll take you back a little bit, we went from 2.4 million in ad valorem chargeable on the top part of the formula to $83,000 on the top part of the formula. Whenever you go down to the bottom part of the formula, we went from $142 million in adjusted valuation down to $132 million in adjusted valuation. That's why we had that increase of $300,000. The other issue is populations in Northwest Oklahoma. Every district in the county except one shrunk a little bit. So I don't know, it's all going to depend, but we're going to continue to grow a little bit in the state aid because everybody else is shrinking.
Right, right. Thanks for explaining.
Those would be questions. That's the report.
I make a motion to approve line item E 1 through 5.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. F, discussion and possible action on approval of board policies as presented. BCR4 pertains to the requirement of certified teachers to present a valid certification prior to payment at the certified rate.
This is a certification recommendation from OSSBA that we wanted to bring back because we need to make sure that we're following this. This is for new employees in the district. They have to present us with that certification. It would not be for career teachers because they've already presented certification no matter what their certification status is. As long as they're still able to be employed. But what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we're following this because we've had some cases where in the past where this hasn't necessarily been something that we've got to make sure that everybody realizes they've got to present us a certificate before they come in. I had to do that because we couldn't pay me until after I got my certification re-upped. So that was pretty much what we're talking about there.
I so move.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
Ms. Meyer, you want to take it out?
Hang on, G first.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry.
Discussion, possible action for approval of an agreement with pre-ETS service coordination for fiscal year 2025.
Okay, this is a program that the school has had previously. It is a program at no cost, and it is provided for students that have a disability. And what they do is they come in to the schools and they provide transition services for work, study skills, self-advocacy skills, and they just help students prepare themselves for post-graduation, just helping them through the transition, even from junior high to high school and then post-high school career. They come once a month. Of course, I have to gain permission from the parents, but they come once a month and they work through 5 modules. And you can see these modules here, and then on the back, I just ran off here, just kind of some information about how it benefits the school. But I used this at the previous school that I was at, and it really is a great program. They can work one-on-one with students. I had a student that they worked with that had a very low IQ, and they still were able to help her with finding, a goal for what she wanted to do post-graduation, and then going through those modules of what it would take to attain that goal. Because a lot of kids will say, I've had kids say, well, I want to be a professional basketball player. Okay, you want to be a professional basketball player. What would it take to be that? And so, they don't crush their dream. They let reality, through these modules, let them realize that maybe that's not probably the best fit. Or, I want to be a heart surgeon. Kids have all sorts, but they let them go through these modules and find a fit for them and their skill set. So it's a great program. But I met with a lady the other night, and she actually lives in Piedmont. But this is just a phenomenal program. Like I said, it's at no cost. The only downfall is it comes from OU, but other than that. But no, so I would just, she in fact said that she could get started just as soon as, you know, if we got this approved, she could get started pretty soon, and then we could just continue on through next year, so. Any questions?
This would go right along with any other transition services. that we
Right,
have.
right. They do partner with vocational rehabilitation that comes from Enid. But yeah, they do partner. They also have, they're housed at the Zorro Center at OU. And if you go to the Zorro Center online, they have free transition assessments that you can access. So they give a plethora of resources for teachers to use for these kiddos so that we can make them successful once they graduate, so.
Sounds awesome.
I make a motion, we approve.
I second.
All those in favor?
Thank you, Ms.
Motion
Ryan.
passes.
Thank you.
H, superintendent's report.
Ms. Collins?
So just some of the things going on at Gilmore. We just finished up our Boosterthon fundraiser, and we had our fun run event, which actually all 3 elementary, so we're probably all going to kind of talk about that in some way. But the kiddos loved it, had a great time. And then this week we are celebrating Read Across America, so we're doing special activities, and then doing dress-up days, Dr. Seuss dress-up days, so they all have something fun, like today was Silly Sock Day, but just remembering, you know, how reading is important. And then next week, we will have our Gilmore Book Fair and parent-teacher conferences, and you know, we're looking forward to inviting families in so they can see the progress that their children have made thus far. And then, gosh, we have lots of spring activities coming up, and we also are getting ready to begin pre-K enrollment. So, time. So, and that's it for Gilmore.
Okay, like she said, we are also doing Read Across America. We had Dress Up Day today, Silly Sock Day. We're going to continue that throughout the week. We had the fun run. Ours was a little chillier because we're the first fun run, but the kids enjoyed it. They had a great time. I did have some boys that ran the entire time, and right before it was over, they were on lap 63. I don't know how they did it, but they did. So they really took it as a challenge. Some other things that we're doing, of course, our 3rd grade teachers are preparing for state testing and parent-teacher conferences, which are Monday and Tuesday. Another thing that we have the duels for wrestling at our building, which means that Mr. Michael has some extra cleaning that he does. And so we just celebrated his, I can't see everybody, I'm gonna have to stand up. We just celebrated his 70th birthday. So he is a rock star for many, many reasons. He didn't ref throughout, he's not reffing any of the tournaments now, but he's ref throughout the year. But, you know, he keeps the gym clean, he cleans our auditorium, so he's wonderful. But I do want to give a shout out to him because he has done a phenomenal job. Another thing, we always have a Student of the Month little celebration in our auditorium, but we are combining a couple of those, so February and March will be together. So if you don't see anything that we've posted, it's because we're combining a couple of those months because of lots of activities and lots of missed days and little things like that. So I think that's all for us.
For the Q, they did the fun run, we did a color run, which means, since this was my first color run to do, they give you little cups of colored powder and you just throw it on the kids as they run by. And so it was extremely, we got to do it at the very end of the day, so it was 1:30, so it was hot, it was windy, they were from head to toe in colored paint or powder. And they wanted it in their hair, their face. They had a great time. So I think we raised a little over $16,000 between our 3 buildings, which was a great thing. The Boosterthon, they do a lot of the work themselves, so we just get to participate in the throwing of the color on them, well, for my building. The parent-teacher conference is coming up. For my building, in the fall, I registered our building for the Certified Healthy School, and I found out last week that we met the criteria, and so we have become a Certified Healthy School by the State Department of Health, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. You just fill out a survey of the things that we do inside of our building, and so I got that email last week saying that we had met that criteria. And so that was kind of a neat little thing to open. And it's been a crazy February with all the snow days and things like that, so playing catch up and getting ready for testing definitely for us in our building because all of our grade levels will be testing. So that's about it.
Okay, for the junior high, our 8th grade went to the Career Tech Center, Chisholm Technical Center, to get introduced on what they have to offer and to start thinking about when they become juniors what they could take out there. Our teachers as well are getting ready for not only state testing, but next week, the parent-teacher conferences. And for Miss Magnus, she had some kids compete, and she said that the junior high women's ensemble earned an excellent, and both junior high mixed ensembles earned superior. She had these students earn excellent in their solos: Tinley Davidson, Sydney Snyder, Naomi Smithson, Magali, and I never can say her name right, Chapoyano, I think, Hannah Johnson and Abby Smith. And then these students ranked superior in their solos: Valerie Rodriguez, Braylon Schroeder, Jackson Garrett, and Evelyn Martin. At the high school, we played soccer. Great day on Monday against Elk City. Both the boys and girls team won. Then we had basketball over the week, Friday and Saturday, for playoffs. Our girls finished on Saturday to advance against Weatherford, played a really great game. Our boys fought very hard. Coaches did a great job preparing them, but Weatherford was a tough game against our boys, but they get to advance as well. They lost that one, but they get to advance as well. And the boys play on Thursday. The girls play on Friday. Where do they play? Stroud.
Just a couple of notes. We're going to have over spring break, Heat and Air is going to finish the work on Heritage's Heat and Air, so we'll have air conditioning on there for the spring. Hopefully heat next winter if everything works right. You know, I mean, that's kind of an iffy thing. And we did get our new pole vault pit in. The pole vault pit that we had had too much water run over it, and it wasn't safe to use. And we got a heck of a deal on it.
That was the grant, correct?
Yes, that was the
By
grant.
the Chickasaw Tribe?
Chickasaw Tribe did that, paid part of that, and then we paid part of it. And we got one of the pit that we got actually had been used at the Olympic trials.
Oh, wow.
It's really pretty nice. And I told the principals today, I mean, we've had a long spring, we've had a long 3-9 weeks, and I really, whenever I send out my board report, I'm going to tell the teachers I expect not to see anybody up here unless it's for basketball practice getting ready for state. Because they need to take a break, they need to refresh for a week and get some relaxation.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Discussion and possible action on dissolution of special education interlocal cooperative for 2025-2026 and authorize final closeout activities of the special education interlocal cooperative.
We're bringing Lomega contacted us, and they have decided that they don't want to be in the co-op anymore. That's the last school in the co-op with us. And for that reason, instead of having to fill out the paperwork and keep the extra fund, the co-op fund open, we'll be dissolving that. I'm asking you to dissolve that co-op. Then we will be sending 3 years of bills and payments back to Omega so we can rectify all this. Our auditors have already checked it, but they've asked for that. We want to make sure everybody who leaves this, as I told Corey, I said, you know, we're going to bring it to our board tonight, and there's no animosity or anything between the two schools. It's just that they feel like that they can get a better deal doing it themselves than doing it with us.
Make a motion that we dissolve the special education interlocal cooperative.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
If y'all want to go on, I don't have
Stay
to.
at least except for stations, even though you don't want
I don't know if they do you?
Nope.
That's all right.
Okay,
Can I stay?
discussion, possible action to accept resignations. 1, Brandon Wynn, maintenance. 2, Leslie Click, English 4.
As I presented to you in their resignation letters, Mr. Wynn thought that he had a better opportunity somewhere working for the people that he was working on in his first job. And then Ms. Click just feels like it's time for her to work with her kids at home.
I make a motion, we approve item K.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. L, discussion, possible action on recommendation for employment of the following positions for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year. 1, maintenance department, Dottie Wilkinson. 2, maintenance department, Tom Brett.
Bobby had left us and then called me back and said that he would like to come back. And Bobby knows where everything is, so that's helpful. And Tom comes to us with a lot of experience. He knows how to fix lots of things. I included their contracts for you to look at so we know what the actual amount is going to be on that. We put them in on the salary scale. We advanced Bobby 1 year on the experience scale, what we brought him back.
Make a motion to approve.
Oh.
What?
No, go ahead, sorry.
Bobby Wilkinson and Tom Brett for maintenance.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. New business,
I have none, sir.
announcements.
Spring break's next week after next, and parent-teacher conferences are next week, and then we start the testing windows after we get back from spring break.
Item O.
I make a motion, do you want to do it for
Yeah.
your last time?
Thank
Go
you.
right ahead.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
I did not want to take that.